All right. Now, here's the moment you've all been waiting for, folks. I'm splitting parts of my Walt Disney Classics VHS and Laserdisc collection. I've already done the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection VHS and Laserdisc collection a week ago or something like that. But now we're going to be looking at the Walt Disney Classics titles that I will be splitting up this time. Now, for part one, we will look at the releases released from 1987 to 1990. And of course, the first Walt Disney Classics release that I own, and the only one from 1987 that I own, is of course the 1987 VHS of Lady and the Tramp, the original Walt Disney Classics edition. And of course, it's a 1955 film with Barbara Luddy, who does the voice of Lady. And believe it or not, Alan Reed appears in this film, and Alan Reed would also voice Fred Flintstone 5 years later on the Flintstone series that aired from 1960 to 1966. And of course, the Flintstones is not from Disney. The Flintstones is a Warner Brothers TV series made by Hanna-Barbera, but that's not the focus of this video. We're focusing on Walt Disney Classics VHS and Laserdisc releases. But I gave you a fun fact about Lady and the Tramp. Here's the tape. It's got a sticker label, and it's got the diamond at the top of the label and the title in the middle. And there are some copies of this VHS that have the title on the top and the diamond placed in the middle. But this one has the diamond at the top of the label and the title in the middle. Originally, this had no print date, but it's now written in a permanent marker that reads August 3rd of 1987, which I assume that's what the print date would be if there was one, but... And of course, this VHS of Lady and the Tramp opens with the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, and then the original 1984, the Classics Walt Disney Home Video logo with the cheesy black diamond. And then, of course, after that, we go to the film. And now, we get into the 1988 releases, which are released on October 4th, 1988. This is the 1988 VHS release of Cinderella. I have gotten this version of... I have gotten the original 1988 Walt Disney Classics edition of Cinderella briefly at a video store back in like 2006 or 2007, but it did not have the case for it, unfortunately. But this one does have a case, because this is the copy that I've gotten back in 2014. This one has a case, unlike the copy that I've gotten at a video store. This is a 1950 film. And of course, this has a sticker label as well. There's no print date on this copy. And this tape opens with the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, followed by a theatrical trailer for Oliver and Company. And then, of course, it's got the debut of the all-new Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey. And it's from 1988, where it has the background in a blue and black gradient with a more metallic looking diamond. And then after this is the 1985 Walt Disney Pictures logo. Then we go right to the film. And these next two releases that I have two different copies of the 1988 Walt Disney Classics edition of Alice in Wonderland. First, we'll look at this copy. And Alice in Wonderland is a 1951 film starring Catherine Beaumont, Sterling Holloway, Ed Wynn, and a whole bunch of other cast members that appear in this film. And of course, Catherine Beaumont would also voice Wendy in Peter Pan 2 years later in 1953. Here's the tape. It's got a sticker label, and the print date is July 13th, 1988. And this copy opens with the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, which slideshow together. And then after this, it's got the original 1984, the classics Walt Disney Home Video logo with the cheesy black diamond, which abruptly fades in and abruptly fades out. Then we go right to the film. And I know there are some copies of the VHS of Alice in Wonderland that have the blue MPAA rating screen and the Buena Vista logo right after the 1984 classics Walt Disney Home Video cheesy black diamond logo, but this copy just goes right to the film right after the 1984 classics Walt Disney Home Video cheesy black diamond logo. And here is this copy. Same packaging and everything. And the same label. But the print date is March 6th, 1991. And this copy, despite being a later printing from 1991, it opens the exact same way as the 1988 VHS. Because it still has the original 1984 classics Walt Disney Home Video logo with the cheesy black diamond. And now we get into the 1989 releases, and in which the first release from 1989 that I have three different copies of. The three different copies of the 1989 Walt Disney Classics edition of Bambi. First, we'll look at this copy, which I've had for an extremely long time. Bambi is a 1942 film, and it's got Sterling Holloway, who does the voice of Adult Flower in this film. And of course, Sterling Holloway, he was a great actor. He was the voice of Mr. Stork in Dumbo. He was the narrator in The Three Caballeros, and in parts of Make Mine Music. And he was also the voice of the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. He was also the voice of Kaa the Snake in The Jungle Book, and the voice of Roquefort in the Aristocats, Roquefort the Mouse from the Aristocats. And of course, the well-known voice role he did for Disney is, of course, the bear of very little brain, Winnie the Pooh. Here's the tape. This had no print date on it, but it's written in the permanent marker reading January 1st, 1989, and this was released September 28th of 1989, and this copy of Bambi opens with the original this opens with the 1984. This copy of Bambi opens with the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, a theatrical trailer for The Little Mermaid, and then the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey, which the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo has the background all blue this time, and the diamond looks more like a picture frame. Now this would be the most common version of the Walt Disney Classics logo that would be used on Disney VHS released starting from this tape up until 1992, with later copies of 101 Dalmatians. The 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo also appears on earlier copies of the 1992 VHS of 101 Dalmatians, whereas later copies used the 1992 version of the Walt Disney Classics logo with the clean music, with the logo fading out earlier. And it also appears, the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo also appears in the 1994 Laserdisc of Aladdin, along with, strangely enough, earlier copies of the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection edition of Pocahontas from 1996, accidentally using the Walt Disney Classics logo on that tape as well. It's quite shocking because Pocahontas is a Masterpiece Collection release, but yet they somehow accidentally put the 1989 variant of the Walt Disney Classics logo on earlier copies for some bizarre reason. And I have one of the copies of Pocahontas that accidentally uses that logo at the beginning, which was printed on December 14th, 1995, which I've already talked about when we showed off the Masterpiece Collection edition for Part 2, when we were talking about Pocahontas. But anyway, back to the Bambi VHS. After the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo, it goes right to the film. And here's this copy. Same packaging. Same label. No print date. And here's this copy. Same packaging. Same label. With yellow reels. Still no print date. All three of them open the same way. And now, here's a brand new VHS release that I've gotten. And it's also a 1989 VHS release. It is the 1989 VHS release of The Sword and the Stone, the Walt Disney Classics edition from 1989. There also exists a 1986 VHS release of The Sword and the Stone with a different cover art compared to this one, but this is the 1989 VHS with updated cover art. And of course, The Sword and the Stone is a 1963 film starring Sebastian Cabot as the voice of Sir Ector. And of course, Sebastian Cabot, he would also voice Bagheera in The Jungle Book, along with being the narrator for the 3 Winnie the Pooh featurettes, which are Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. All of those shorts would eventually be packaged together into a package feature called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in 1977. And those shorts aired between 1966 and 1970, were released between 1966 and 1974. And Hoonius Matthews also appears as the voice of Archimedes, and Archimedes is the owl in this film. And Hoonius Matthews would also voice Rabbit in the original 3 Winnie the Pooh featurettes as well. Here is the tape. This one has an ink label, and it is a later printing from February 22nd, 1994. And now, I have checked this tape, and would you like to know what this copy of The Sword and the Stone opens with? This copy of the Classics edition of The Sword and the Stone contains the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, of course. Then it retains the original 1984 Classics Walt Disney Home Video cheesy black diamond logo. And then it goes to the film. And I know that there are some copies of the VHS that update the tape master by using the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey and have the Buena Vista logo before the film starts. But this copy does not have the Buena Vista logo, and it has the original 1984 Classics Walt Disney Home Video logo with the cheesy black diamond. Next up, I have 2 different copies of the Walt Disney Classics edition of The Little Mermaid from 1990, the 1990 VHS, with the famous controversial cover. I wouldn't call the cover controversial, to be honest, but I'm not going to go into any more detail on that. But it's got Jodie Benson, who voices Ariel in this film, and Kenneth Mars does the voice of King Triton. And here's the tape. This has a vertical ink label, and there is no print date on this tape. But this tape has absolutely nothing. There's no previews. It just has the FBI warning screens. Nothing but the FBI warning screens. And hold on, let me rephrase that. This tape has absolutely nothing but the film. It has no previews. It just has the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, followed by the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey. And then after that is, of course, the original 1985 Walt Disney Pictures logo. And then we go right to the film. And here's this copy. Same label, no print date, opens the same way. We have one more release from 1990 to talk about, which I have both on VHS and Laserdisc. And of course...
James, here is your reminder. Go to bed.
Never mind that, folks.
James, here is your reminder. Go to bed.
That is just my Alexa speaking to me. But anyway... I am sorry you had to hear my Alexa speaking to me or talking to me during this recording, but it doesn't matter. Let's continue. We have one more release from 1990 to talk about, which I have on both VHS and Laserdisc. Four different copies of the original Black Diamond Classics edition of Peter Pan 4000, as some people call it. But anyway, this is Peter Pan. It is a 1953 film, one of the last films to be part of RKO Radio Pictures, one of the last animated feature films to be part of RKO Radio Pictures. This also stars Catherine Beaumont as she voices Wendy in this film, and this stars Bobby Driscoll, who voices Peter Pan here, and he also appeared in films like Song of the South, which was actually a film that was banned from being released in the United States because the film became very controversial. And Bobby Driscoll also appeared in So Dear to My Heart. And of course, tape, ink label. This originally had no print date, but it's written in a permanent marker reading May 7th, 1990, because that's what I assumed the print date would be. But if it had one, of course. But this tape of Peter Pan opens with the 1984 red-orange FBI warning screens, the Fly In Coming to Theaters bumper, and a sneak peek at the making of The Rescuers Down Under, and then the Fly In now on video cassette screen, and previews for The Little Mermaid, and then, of course, the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey, and then, of course, the 1985 Walt Disney Pictures logo, and then the film. And here is this copy. Same casing, same label. It's got two print dates, one reading July 10th, 1990, and the other reading May 7th, 1990. This opens the same way. And now, here is this copy. This one has a different label where the diamond is on the left side and the title's in the middle, unlike the previous two versions of the tape where the diamond was on the right side and the title was on the left. Here's a comparison between the two labels. But anyway, the print date for this copy is March 26, 1990. This opens the same way despite having a different ink label. And here's this copy. Same casing. This also has the same new styled ink label, which is in much better condition, unlike the previous copy. And the print date's on a black text reading April 6th, 1990, and this opens the same way. Anyway, but we're not exactly done with Peter Pan just yet. because I also happen to have the 1990 Walt Disney Classics Laserdisc release, in which I'm going to tell you what this Laserdisc of Peter Pan opens up with. This Laserdisc of Peter Pan from 1990 opens with the 1984 red orange FBI warning screens and the LaserVision logo, followed by the 1989 Walt Disney Classics logo with Sorcerer Mickey and the 1985 Walt Disney Pictures logo. And then we go right to the film. But at the end of the film on the Laserdisc, it shows the Buena Vista logo compared to the VHS, which did not. And of course, that was part one. Stay tuned for part two, which will look at the releases from 1991 and 1992.